podcast dedicated to informing you about the toy we all love, Lego.
Half of the movie is watchable, and the other half is listenable.
As planned, I learned a lot of different things about what to do and what not to do as far as stop motion animation is concerned.
Brick film. That is awesome, and I loved it.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the LBAM podcast. Today I'm joined by Noah Frazier and aka Pushover Productions. So Noah, tell our listeners what you do with Lego and stuff like that. And yeah.
I just make brick films that are pretty much all comedy because that's my favorite type of brick film to make. Sometimes they're a bit dark, but that's what I do.
Okay. So how'd you get started with Lego?
That was back in 2007 when Lego had the Star Wars contest, and I watched one of the videos and I'm like, oh, I want to try. So I've been doing that ever since.
Okay. The contest, well, it was the brick filming contest, right?
Yes, it was, back in 2007 they had a Star Wars brick filming contest, and they put it on the main Lego website, but I was just watching all the entries, and I asked, well, how do you do that? I asked my mom, how do you, make them move without touching them? And she's like, oh, I don't know, it's something like pictures or something. So I decided to try it with my dad's camera, and I've just been updating my cameras ever since until I'm here now with...
Okay, cool. So, what frame rate do you film your videos at?
Oh, I don't know. I never really figured that out. It's different every time.
Okay. So, let me pull up your list of videos here. Alright, so you did the Lego The Deadly Mission. So what was kind of the lead up for that, and how did you come up with the story? And
oh yeah, well that one was an entry to a contest, which was, the theme was make an action brick film, and I thought, oh, well, I'll just do a fight scene that takes place in the 40s or something, because I've always liked watching older types of movies. So that video as an entry to a contest where we were supposed to make an action brick film, and I thought, okay, well, I'll make it take place in the 40s, because I was watching Casablanca before that. I'm like, I think I'll just make it 1940s, and I worked a whole month to make that video, and I uploaded it to BIM, and somebody found it, and it just, everybody started watching it, kind of word of mouth spread. And that's how that video started. Okay.
Well, for those people who don't know, what's BIM?
BIM stands for Bricks in Motion, which is a brick filming forum board, where you upload your brick films and talk about them and other brick filming related things.
Okay. Just want to make sure the listeners knew that. So what was you said you want to do it like in the 40s. Was that why you want to do it in black and white?
Yeah, it was almost like a parody of some of the older films back then, because they all have things that you can make fun of. I never really ended up making fun of some of the cliches. I just made a video that took place in the 40s, and it was black and white.
Yeah, so, it was kind of dark. It was the dude killed the dude in the office. What was the inspiration for all the darkness?
Yeah, I developed a very strange, dark sense of humor after watching this one black and white movie that was also an inspiration for this video, Abbott and Costello Meet the Killer. And I've got this weird thing about making jokes about dead people, and you could call it a bad thing, but it's just my kind of sense of humor. Grew up on Monty Python.
I noticed that you did a gun flare effect that's kind of different than what I've seen in other brick films. How'd you do that?
Well, what I did is I used a flashlight, and I just sort of shined it on the set every other frame, and then when I stringed it all together, it looked like actual gun flares, because I prefer practical effects.
Yeah.
Take less time sometimes, and they look better.
So, what was kind of the... Alright, never mind. So, how long did it take you to make it?
That video took me about a month. I just kind of rushed through with that to try and get it done, because the Mafia was going to get me if I didn't. But I finished that video within a month. I just kind of stayed in my room the whole month, just rushing to get it done. And it was worth it. That was probably the fastest I got done such a long video, aside from Brawl, which is a contest, once again, held on Bricks in Motion.
Okay. Cool. So, another video you did was, the Christmas video. What was it called?
Yeah, that was Chestnuts, Figgy Pudding, and a Maniac.
That was quite funny. So, what was the inspiration for that, and how did you come up with the story? Or did you kind of go with it as you filmed?
Yeah, that one, I don't think I ever had a complete script written down, but I just kind of came up with that along the way. It was a bit crazy. That was probably the strangest video I've made to date. And it was the longest one, too. It wasn't intended to be that long, but it ended up being somewhere around 12 minutes. And then I did a director's cut down to 8 minutes. But...
Wow. So... in one of the scenes, the dude throws a chicken in the blender. How did you do the blender effects?
Oh, yeah, I took, with the Lego City police chase set, there's a water cooler, or the police station set, there's a water cooler, and it kind of looked like a blender, so I just took the lid off and tried and put half the chicken in there, and then rotated the, a jar piece on the circle, and it just looked like the blender was going around, so that was that.
And the dude, like, for the whole video had a turkey on his head?
Oh, yeah. That was something that was a spur of the moment. Because every Christmas I wear turkeys on my head, so I thought maybe it would be good to sort of base it off real life.
And, what was the... Why'd you put the gingerbread man in there? And
that was another idea I got when I saw the gingerbread man in the Lego minifigure series at the time, and I thought, oh yeah, that would probably be something strange to put in there. Most of these ideas just you come up with them in the strangest ways, just kind of sitting there or golfing or something.
Okay, and he had a quite horrible end, getting thrown out of a roof. But the animation for when he was falling was really smooth. How did you do that?
Yeah, I was actually worried about how I was going to do that, but what I decided to do was I put the I've done this a lot in videos lately, where I put it on, like, pudge, some people call it, or even Play-Doh, and then you just leave it there, and gravity will slowly bring it down, and you just click the capture button in your frame capture system a bunch of times, and string it together, and it's a lot of frames, so...
Oh, wow. I never would have guessed that. That was so smooth. I was like, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, it was all practical.
Yeah, so why did you include the robbers coming in and kind of
that was the original
looking
idea,
for
actually.
bodies?
I think it was partially inspired by Twig or Tweet, which was made by Crazy Ed. I'm not sure why, but I thought, oh, hey, I like the nighttime thing, and I thought, well, there should be robbers breaking in, and then he just sort of makes them go crazy. I don't know. It was... Because, like, every year whenever robbers come into somebody's house, what are you going to do? I mean, it's Christmas. Come on. You're going to be hospitality. Or you're going to give them your hospitality. So that's where that video came from.
And of course, they were posing as two people looking for bodies.
Once again, the body jokes. I can't stop making jokes about corpses.
And you threw in Dane Cook at the end.
Oh, I wanted to do a Dan Cook video, but I was a bit too late because that fat had passed away. So
yeah,
I just decided to throw it in as a reference.
I never did get what that was all about.
Yeah, Dan Cook's just a bad comedian, I guess.
Yeah, I haven't been in the community that long, I don't guess, but okay, so do you have any plans for future Brick films?
Yeah, my big problem is it's taken me like 3 months just to decide what Brick film I'm gonna do, because I have so many different ideas and so little time. But I'm working on one that's, once again, going to be very dark, and the whole thing revolves around dead body jokes. I should see a doctor about that. I keep making dead body jokes, but it's about some grave robbers in the 1800s. So you can imagine lots of dead body jokes.
Will there be zombies?
Yes, actually. You know, throwing a little reference to Thriller, the music video.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to someone who's starting out with brick filming, and what would you tell them they really need to work heavily on?
Well, I think the first thing is just mainly to get down the whole light flickering problem and the camera shake problems. Those are two things everybody is always bothered by, and it takes a while to finally get that under your wing. But once you have it figured out, that helps. And then also, if you're doing comedy, which is probably the easiest genre to start out with, most people do when brick filming, avoid making mindless jokes about people shooting each other, which I think we're all guilty of at one point or another.
Yeah, so how do you come up with a good comedy?
I think one thing, there's probably some things you want to keep in mind. Everybody has a different sense of humor. Some people like darker stuff, some people like slapstick, some people like really highbrow humor, and some people just like fart jokes. But it's nice to throw in all kinds of different types of humor, and then also just irony. Usually thinking of the opposite of something you would do in a circumstance helps, make something funny, or to think of the craziest circumstance possible. Or maybe you could just base it off real-life events and then twist them a lot. So parodies are the easiest type of comedy to do, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I've ever done a comedy brick film. All my videos seem to be quite serious. I wouldn't say dark, but pretty serious, so... Yeah.
Well, dark, once again, that's just a preference,
Yeah. So, what equipment do you use as far as cameras and software and computer?
Well, I started out with, the cameras with the tapes where you put them in and then you can overwrite something really easily. I did that all the time, but I moved from that to a point and shoot, and now I have a Logitech QuickCam 9000, which is like this industry standard, you could say. Everybody uses that. And then I use a PC, I guess, for computer. And for audio recording, I use a Blue Yeti microphone. All the Blue microphones are really great. You should probably look into that if you have enough money. I don't know, they're paying me to say that, but the Blue microphones are very good microphones.
Okay, and what kind of stop-motion software do you use and video editor?
I think that stop-motion softwares like frame capture systems aren't really that important, despite what people might be led to believe. But since I don't know of anything else, I just use Monkey Jam. And I've also got this weird thing about jokes with monkeys. They usually get cut out of my films. That's why there aren't many monkey jokes in my final films, but I've got a monkey thing. And then also Windows Movie Maker for editing, which is the worst possible editing system. Just nobody ever use that if you have the choice, because it slowly kills you. It's proven in medical studies that using Windows Movie Maker is dangerous for your health. But it works for the essentials.
Yeah. So, would you suggest someone, if they are going to do comedy, have ongoing jokes for so many brick films, or something like that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Would you suggest for someone doing comedy brick films to have ongoing jokes, like...
Oh, like running gags?
Yeah.
Yeah. Running gags are really good if you don't overuse them. Or, I mean, there's a difference between running gags and references, because you can reference other people's jokes, but I think it's only a running gag if it's yours. But as long as you don't overuse them, yeah, they're pretty good. They're just something you want to throw in. You don't want to base your whole video off a running gag.
Yeah. So, thanks for coming on, man.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry I might have run through all your questions quite fast, but I'm not good at this kind of thing. When they interrogate you, like, they want you to answer questions very fast, so after years of being interrogated by the government, I've learned that, you don't take too long, so I think I might have gone through your material quite quick. But thank you for having me on the show. It was really great. I listen to it all the time.
Alright, thanks, man. And please note that this podcast is not affiliated with the LEGO company in any way, shape, or form. The official LEGO website can be found at lego.com. Thanks, Noah, for coming on. And this has been another edition of LBAM. Thanks for listening.
I'm living in a Lego house. I'm sitting in a Lego chair. I'm watching my Lego TV in my Lego underwear. And is it ever lumpy?